All right, Ashley, so we'll start off here with your artist statement. And again, I think a lot of students have done this where you start off with a little bit more of a bio. And I'd like to see you just talk about this series, especially because you could have a bio in your portfolio and you could have a bio in on your website, right? You'd have a bio page, and then the artist statement is directly linked to the work. So as we open up a web page and we go to this project, we would find a page possibly or a sidebar that would give us this artist statement. And it would be more just about this work. So talking more about your fascination with changing things in Photoshop. You wanted to focus on color and manipulating backgrounds. You are interested in the brushes and creating a playful and unrealistic scene. And then the purpose of this series is to better enhance my Photoshop skills and create images that are fun to look at. So I get a little bit more into that. I don't think in your artist statement you want to tell people that you're trying to enhance your Photoshop skills and that's why you're making a series. But what do you want people to get from this? What do you want people to look at and gain from these? Do you want these to be used for advertising? Do you want these to be just fun images to have? What is the real goal with these? All right, and then looking at your images. So we've seen a lot of these images, but a lot of them have been re-edited to be a little bit more realistic. So that's coming together well. Um, like, I don't think that this, and I'd have to go back and look, of course, but I don't think this had two different backgrounds in the past. I don't know if it had the fade and the shadow. All of that adds more depth to it. The different background sometimes throws me off on these images as though you want it to look like it's three-dimensional, but it's still flat. So if you added a bit of a gradient to that, you could make it feel a little bit more three-dimensional. And then this image has that feel, and there is a gradient on it. It's not a gradient like I was thinking, but I think the gradient in this image, along with the shadows kind of falling off, work well. And we've seen this, and we've seen this. All right, and then your Aladdin image we saw before, and we talked about maybe lightening up the opacity of Aladdin. And then watch this, like there's a weird line right here that makes that smoke less believable, so watch that. And maybe even like starting to take this line off here might make it flow out of there a little bit more smoothly and not look like it's two objects put together in the same way. But this background has more of a gradient, and you have the shadow, which is a really light shadow that's working well there. Here before you had a sunset, but it was very pixelated, so you've adjusted that, and now it feels much more believable. I think that's one of your best images because of the three-dimensionality of it. We've seen this. I think you added that skull on there. This image has more of that dimension with the wood going off into the background. The shadow's a little off here. It doesn't match the subject, right? It like comes out, I don't know, it's not quite matching. And then the edge at the bottom is a little bit rough there. It doesn't look like it's actually sitting on there. So that might be something for you to consider, like just for you to think about, is how realistic you're wanting these to look. And if it matters to you that it doesn't look like it's actually sitting there, if that's a skill that you want to work on. And then we've seen this image, and I'm sure you've updated these, and I'm not even noticing all the updates. This had a really positive impact on me. This is another one that the shadow could be adjusted on, so it's not just for the post here, but for the entire tree, just bringing that flat. And here, as you have the background, you have it faded, so I think that's different as well. So you have that soft fade of the background, and that makes it look like it's more of an actual scene. It doesn't feel as rigid or like it doesn't feel like it's being flattened in the same way, especially if you run that shadow all the way up against the background. I think that could really help this to be more believable. So when you have that really straight line, it looks two-dimensional. And here, especially with the shadow, it starts to look more three-dimensional. I think the birds are a really fun addition to that. And then that's it. And then let's look at your PDF. Actually, I looked at your PDF. I have your PDF open here. Um, but I think it's off a little bit because if I look at this image here, it looks like you want just the pumpkin on the first page, and then your second, third page are going to be these two images. And you're going to have 20 images altogether, or 15 to 20. And if you have them facing each other, you're not going to have that many pages. So I would consider adjusting that for some images to maybe bleed across two pages, like this image would work well. Oh, and that's the old setup for it. It would work well to bleed across two pages. And then these images, unless there's a reason why you're pairing them together, unless you're pairing them together for some conceptual reason, I would have each of these on their own page. I think you've worked hard on these, you've put a lot of time into them, and they each deserve their own page, opposed to if I look at your PDF, see, it just is kind of like then these two are matched up together. But if I'm looking at these two images on the same page, then I'm trying to compare them and see what they have that's similar and why they're all on the same page. That comparison is just a natural thing. So separating them out more may work better for you. So we're looking and spending the amount of time we should with each image.